So we've talked some time ago about reviews, and we might even bring that discussion up again, but business reviews specifically. And today we're going to talk about Amazon reviews, the impact of it, and if you have an Amazon store, how do you control those really bad reviews? Ooh, let's find out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders, welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. And today's guest is Shane Barker. Hi, Shane. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great, great.
So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, my name is Shane Barker, and I've done a lot of things in my lifetime. We started off in the digital space. So, have a website called shanebarker.com where I would write about, stuff for small businesses and agencies and stuff and kind of educate them on things that we did right and wrong. And I did that probably started about 18 years ago. So, we have about 900 articles on there. And so, very, very active site. And then, over the years, I also used to own a bar in Chico, California. I had a real estate based business that we grew to 0 to 25 million in 2 years. So I have a
Wow.
long history. Those are my successes. We don't have enough time to talk about my failures. That would be a whole nother podcast, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, make it sound all glorious. Those are the things that people want to hear about. And just recently, where I'd say probably 5.5 years ago, I started my company Tracefuse. So it's tracefuse.ai, where we help Amazon sellers remove negative reviews or critical reviews that violate Amazon's own guidelines. So we've been in the reputation management space for the last, well, even before that, I worked with celebrities in LA, which is a whole nother conversation as well. But this is more on the product-based side of things.
Well, I mean, obviously, negative reviews anywhere is a hard thing for a business, but I didn't realize that Amazon, you could somehow remove negative reviews.
Yeah. So what I always tell people is, if you're an Amazon seller, it's not just reviews that you don't like, right? Because I think there's
Yeah.
value in negative reviews. There is value in understanding how you can make your product better. Now, it might sting a little bit because it's in a public platform, right? It'd be
Yeah.
nice to get an email from somebody and say, hey, this happened. But that's where people, unfortunately, if people have an issue, that's where they go to, right? They want to get the most eyeballs on it and hit you where it hurts. And, when people have a great experience, they're not as quick to go write a great comment. So what I always tell people is like, hey, when it comes to Amazon, what we're looking at is, because there's also some things that go on Amazon. People can get attacked. Somebody can go, buy your products and give you a negative review. There's a lot of things that can happen there. And what we looked at was like, what was an ethical way to be able to remove reviews? And the way we're doing that is we look at Amazon's terms of service. So if you're writing a review on Amazon and you cuss or mention a competitor or mention an exact price, or it's FBA, which means that Amazon ships it out. Like people will say, oh, I hate this product. It was 2 weeks late. It's like, well, no, you hate the shipping. You don't necessarily hate the
Yeah.
product. Those are the types of things that we go after. Amazon has their level of, their first level of defense to stop those reviews. And if they get through, then what we do is we file cases for the seller on the seller's behalf to say, hey, somebody just used the F word in a review. Obviously, we don't want that on the platform. And so those are the reviews we go after, not just the ones that you don't like.
But so can the seller respond to reviews? I don't remember there being no
Not on
re
Amazon. They used to be able to respond to them. Now they can't respond. And so that's one of the hard parts on Amazon is that if you get a bad review or Amazon changes a policy, maybe says, hey, you can't return items, well, that comes back on the seller. And that's
Yeah.
not always the seller's fault, right? I mean, if once again, if Amazon shipped out 2 weeks late, that's not the product's problem. So that's where, we were the first company to start doing this. So you're not your skepticism, I don't mean that like that, but you're like, wait a second, that doesn't really make sense. It's the same thing. We started this company. I went to a conference in Florida and I was telling people, hey, this is what we do. We can help you remove, critical reviews that violate Amazon's guidelines. And they said, no, you can't. I don't
Yeah.
think you can do that. And I was like, no, no, like really, it's legit. It's like where it's not black hat. I mean, I actually put my face on the company, not to, try to make myself famous or anything, but because in this space, typically people are a little nervous about it, right? And so I said, hey, listen, like I used to teach at UCLA, like I have a good name in the industry. So I was like, hey, I'm putting my face on this company. I would never trade my reputation for $1 or even $10 million. Like I've done a great job or, a lot of work to be able to build up my own personal brand. So we tried to get past that because a lot of people were very skeptical because it was like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. Like it just doesn't, and I'm like, well, and now we've removed over 16,000 reviews and have 700 brands that we work with. So now we've gotten past that hump of, hey, is this legit or not? But I'll tell you that first few months of doing this, I was like, man, people really don't believe that we can do this. And so that was a little bit of a trial, but if it was easy, everybody would do it. So, I was like, hey, I'm okay with the little trials and tribulations as long as we can get over the hump, which we did. So I'm happy.
Cool. So what advice would you give to an Amazon seller that has this problem with people leaving negative reviews?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, listen, if you're having issues with people leaving negative reviews, if a lot of the reviews are the same and you don't feel like you're being attacked by a competitor, then there's something you need to look at, right? I mean, if everybody says, hey, we open it up and something's broken or something happens. But the thing that you have to realize as a seller, what I always try to educate sellers on is, hey, try not to take it personal, right? Because the issue, and what I always say, like, that's your baby, right? Like if somebody came and said your baby was ugly, you might be a little offended, right? I mean, maybe your baby is ugly, maybe your baby's pretty. I don't know, but my point is that hurts, right? And so it's like you feel like you're being attacked. And I'm a very emotional person, so I get that, resonate with that. I understand that it takes me about 10 minutes to write something back. I was like, be nice, be a good human, just. And so, of course, I always have my wife come and look at stuff before I post things if I'm in an emotional situation. But really, what you need to do is try to pull yourself out of it and say, okay, is there a problem here, right? Is there something that needs to be fixed? And it would be great if you could reach out to them and say, hey, we're fixing this, but the problem is on Amazon, you can't do that. And so it becomes a little frustrating. So we were trying to give a little bit of power back to the sellers by maybe removing other reviews, because sometimes there's a review they just don't like. But for us, it's really cleaning up their listing and getting their, like, we call it their BSR, their bestseller ranking, or their ratings, right? So if they're at a 4.1, and we remove all the reviews, they get to a 4.3, well, that really increases sales for them, right? And we're taking down reviews that literally violate Amazon's own rules. So that's kind of our angle, and that's where things have gotten creative. But what I would recommend, whether you're in the Amazon space or not, is, if you're a restaurant or anything, try to get as many positive reviews as you can, right? I mean, and I know that sounds like a very, like, no duh type statement, because it's like, well, obviously you should. The problem with it is that we don't think about it. And then when you get a bad review, it really hurts, right? I mean, if you're on Amazon, if you do a launch on Amazon and you get a 1-star review, your launch is done. Like there's really almost nothing you can do to survive that. So, and it's the same thing if you're a restaurant, you're a brand new restaurant, and somebody comes in, whether it's a legit review or not, and they come and give you a bad review on Yelp or something. Well, if I go and look at your new Mexican restaurant you just up and I look and you have a 1-star review and you're the only person, then I go, I don't want to be, victim here. I don't want to go in there and have anything bad happen. So, that's the problem. Is I always tell people to be more proactive than reactive, right? Like you really want to do everything you can to have a nice foundation there, because I can promise you, if you have 10 great reviews, whether it's on Amazon, on products, or a restaurant, you have 10 great reviews, you get a negative review, it sucks. But it doesn't suck as bad, right? Because you already have some good reviews. People can say, well, maybe that's a crazy person, or maybe they just, didn't have a good experience for that one time. But these other 10 people seem to think that they had a great time there and enjoyed the food or the ambiance or whatever that may be. So once again, be proactive. What you can't do, and what I always encourage sellers and restaurant owners or business owners, don't put your head in the sand, right? Like that isn't the, I call it the praying strategy. Like just praying that everything goes right I mean, it can be a strategy. I don't know how well it works, but in where we're at, in the real world, at the end of the day, it's important to go and monitor whether it be your listings on Amazon or whatever it is, what people are saying about your brand or your own personal brand or your restaurant or business, whatever you have. Make sure you're taking a look at that, because you do want to make sure that you're on top of it, because if people are saying bad stuff, it's not going to go away by not looking at it. It's still out there, right? So you want to make sure that you're being proactive about looking at that and saying, hey, what do I need to do to build a moat around my brand, or what do I need to do to protect my brand? But just know that once you start to make good money and good things happen, you're going to have plenty of people that aren't going to like things, right? They're going to come in and say things, and you got to figure out, how are you going to handle that as a business? Because it feels like it gets you in the heart a little bit. Somebody's messing with your baby. That's not a great feeling last time I checked. So, once again, be proactive, not reactive is the goal.
It's so funny that you mentioned the baby. My firstborn, we took him to church, and some little like 7-year-old walked up and said, "He looks like a Martian."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like,
That's
as a first new mom, I was like, why would you say that?
Yeah, like what? Like that's not a very,
But
like,
it's
you can
all
think
it's all
whatever you
good.
think. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure after you have a few kids, you're like, oh, that's fine. But the first
Oh
one, you're like, whoa,
yeah.
I made that. I take that very personally. That's a part of me there. I'm at least 50% of that Martian, That's geez
Yeah.
Louise.
I'm that Martian's mom. Funny that Martian just turned 40 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's awesome. I turned 50. I almost said this year. God, it's already 2026. Last year I turned 50. So yeah, I get
Mhm.
that, man. The journey, God, it happens so fast. It's
Yeah.
like you blink and then all of a sudden you're getting older.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a
Like,
whole nother conversation.
yeah, we'll come back to that one. All right,
Yeah.
so I have a question. So I also work with businesses that service home service businesses with their reviews, and there's processes that we set up, especially like Google and Yelp, and the things that you can actually respond to. There's
Yeah.
systems, processes we set up. But is there a way of setting up with Amazon how to get reviews?
There's a few
Oh,
different services that you can do. And also, when somebody comes and buys a product, there is a way in the back end you can click a button and it'll prompt them to write a review. But the issue with that is that, if you're selling a lot of units, a lot of people forget to do that. So you have to
mm,
hire somebody. It's not an automated thing that happens with Amazon. So if you buy 10 things with Amazon, you'll notice not every time they're asking you for a review, right? It's if somebody remembers and goes and presses that. And some sellers don't even know how to do that. And then we have other tools as well, or other companies that we work with. Like one of them is called or Swap QR. And what it is Andrew's the owner there, and they do is like QR codes on there, and they're trying to really build out the business and get more reviews and stuff. But they don't ask, hey, write a 5-star review because you can't do that. It's against Amazon's guidelines.
right.
It's more of like, hey, if you enjoyed the product, if you can write a review, that'd be great. If you had any issues, go to this side.
Let
Don't
us
write
know.
it in the,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
you let me know and see if I can try to fix it? So there's plenty of companies out there that do that. We just focus on what we call critical reviews, which are 1, 2s, or 3 stars on a product listing.
I think over the years how Amazon has grown from just selling books to now they even do prescriptions. Really? They
Yeah,
have their own pharmacy. I mean, it's a huge, huge platform.
it's insane. They're doing medical stuff, they're doing prescriptions. There's so many different things. This was funny. I saw it was an event that I was speaking at. I think it was the VP of marketing from the Marriott that
Mm,
was there. And this was years, it's probably before COVID, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I'm always terrible with timelines. Speaking of getting old, it was the VP of marketing. He said, because somebody said, hey, are you worried about Hyatt or anything? He goes, no, the biggest thing that I'm worried about is Amazon. And
mm.
everybody goes, Amazon? They're not even in the hotel space. But it's like, yeah, they could get in the hotel space or they can get in any space, really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right? I mean, you have to realize we just had, I think it was a USPS that didn't renew their agreement with Amazon. I think it was that, or maybe UPS. But either way, what happened is that, Amazon has their own vehicles. They
Mhm.
invested in Rivian, right? You see all they have their vehicles, which is obviously great for gas and environment and all that stuff. But, the thing is, if you don't give Amazon a certain price, they're that big where they can say, oh, well, screw it. I'll just go ahead and do it myself, which can be awesome for consumers. But I also I like Amazon, and obviously we work in the Amazon space, but I also think it's healthy to have competition. It's healthy to have,
Yeah.
other options, and it's also nice to
Yeah.
support local as well.
Mhm.
So I'm a big advocate of that as well. I live in Reno, Nevada, so we like to go out to little shows and support little local artists, but it's
Yeah.
difficult. Amazon, I think, is awesome, and it definitely has a place. But I also feel a little bad for the smaller businesses and stuff
Mhm.
because my heart's always with the entrepreneur that's pushing hard. So, but once again, Amazon it's just too convenient. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's like
is,
it,
and I
yeah,
can get
it's
it tomorrow.
sometimes same day.
Somehow.
Yeah, like that's pretty great. Like my wife would be like, "Oh shit, we forgot to get honey," and I'm like, just order it. It could be here in 2 hours, and then all of a sudden it's here before dinner. Yeah, it's pretty well. Now they're going to be doing drones, and anyways, they have
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff they're doing. It's pretty incredible to watch from a distance, like just looking at all the, because obviously I keep up on what Amazon's doing. It's impressive, and then I have a little scares me a little bit too, right? I mean,
Hmm.
just I think it does
Because
everybody, but it's
they're
as
so
long
big.
as yeah, it's almost too big to fail. It
Yeah.
jumps into almost that category.
Yeah. Because I even think about, oh, well, it's so big here, but they're worldwide.
Huge.
I
Well,
mean,
I can tell you in the US platform, because they have like UK, Canada,
mhm.
EU, Germany is really big. I can tell you in just the US, I think it's 1.8 or 1.9 million active sellers. So think about that. And that's not even including Amazon's products. These are just people that have their businesses. That's pretty insane.
So
Yeah,
on
it's
the
kind of
other side, they are kind of supporting local sellers, if you will, or. however you want to say
Yeah.
that. I mean, there are a lot of, obviously, a lot of people making money because Amazon built their platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's people that just sell on Amazon that don't
Yeah.
sell any other place because they understand Amazon, they understand how to work the system. The hard part, I would say, in Amazon, and this is, I think, with any big platform, is just the nuances of it, and
Mhm.
the changes that make. Because people get very like, oh, they're making changes. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, it is their business. You are a guest on Amazon. So they make whatever changes they want. They're not
Yeah.
looking at this saying, how's this going to affect Shane? It's decisions they make. And so you have to be willing to work with that and say, okay, yep, you know what? Changes. It is what it is. I got punched in the face, but I'm okay. We're going to just keep going. You
Hmm.
got to kind of have that resiliency with Amazon or with any platform you're on. I mean, because
Yeah.
there's always going to be changes, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. Things
Mhm.
happen. You might not like it. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, once again, as I said earlier, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. So there's going to be some complications to it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of changes, so what kind of changes do you see coming up here in the next few years for Tracefuse?
Yeah. So we want to branch out. So right now we do specialize in the Canada, UK, and US. But once again, with us being we were the original company to do this, now we have some competitors and stuff, which is awesome. That validates what we're doing. We have 700 customers, the most out of any company out there. But still, if you divide 700 into 1.8 million, we have a little bit of room for growth there. So what I look at is that we're gonna, historically Shane, Mr. ADHD here, would try to start all these other different areas. We're just focusing on those three areas for now.
Mhm.
We already have most of the market share in regards to how many people have signed up. We want to continue to grow that, and then eventually we're looking at going to the EU and in Germany, where those are great markets as well. But the reason why we're not jumping there is because the way that they file and the way they do things is very different. It's almost like starting a whole nother business. So that's
It's
what I
not
looked
like
at.
you
It's like
can just be here and then service those people.
service them, but it's how you file cases on those
Oh,
platforms. So
okay.
the
Gotcha. Okay.
US and the EU, their process is totally different for doing it.
Okay.
So it's not, yeah, like we can take care of, like if you're in the US and you have global reviews from all
Hmm.
over, we can help you with those because then we're filing in the US. But if we file in the EU, the
Okay.
process it's like starting a whole new business. So I was like, well, I don't want that headache yet, right? We figured this out. It took us
Yeah.
2 years to figure out how to do this in the US. When I say it's not an easy process, it is not. It took us a long time. But when we cracked the code, once again, people didn't believe it and we had to get over that hump. And so, once again, we're here now and making magic happen. So I feel very honored and blessed.
So with your experience with Amazon, what are some tips that you might give to a digital marketing person that would like to sell or is selling on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, once again, understand that when people give you bad reviews, try not to take it too
Hmm.
personal, right? I mean, it is what it is. Everybody starts off with a product and then it pivots and iterates and, makes changes. Always, as I said earlier, make sure you're being proactive, not reactive. Really try to get as many positive reviews so when a negative review
Yeah.
comes in, it doesn't hurt you as bad. And then also, I would highly recommend getting a mentor if you want to jump in the Amazon space.
Oh, yeah.
Having somebody, not necessarily, don't get sold on a $10,000 course. I mean, you don't need to spend all that money. Find somebody that maybe you can do group coaching or something. And I think this is with anything, right? Any new platform, anything new that you're
Hmm.
jumping into, go over to a site like Skillshare or there's have all these sites or Udemy. You can go in there and take a little course for literally $20. Get acclimated, understand what you got going on there. And then I would advise, one thing I've learned over the years is delegation. Hey, bring somebody on smarter than you, right? Like have somebody come
Yeah.
on, right? And it can be, let's say it's $200 now. You're like, oh, that's so expensive. Just meet with them once a month or twice a month because they can stop you from making an error that could affect your sales for the next 3 months. So that's what you have to look at. When I was younger, I was just stubborn. Like I was like, oh, I'll do it myself. Nobody can tell me. I'll figure it out. I'll just stay up, which I did. And I did figure some things out. But now I'm like, man, please, I will hire you in a hot second. Please come help me. What we're doing is if you have 10 years of experience, you're giving me 10 years of experience for 1 hour a month that could make it so it's going to cut down my learning curve by a year, 2 years, 3 years. I look at that as an easy investment now. But when I was younger, I was like, oh, there's no way I would pay that. And now I'm like, I can't bring on enough experts around me or mentors around me. It's like that's how I grow faster. And I, had to get rid of that stubbornness there. Now, my wife might disagree, might say I'm still a little stubborn, but I've been working on it. I've been working on it.
So you mentioned that you taught at UCLA. What kind of approach or business and marketing strategies have you brought in from that perspective?
Yeah, so the UCLA story is a really interesting story. They actually reach out to me about helping put together the curriculum for their influencer marketing program.
Oh,
And this was 6 or 7 years ago that I did
oh,
it. So when they reached out to me, they were like, "Hey, we're interested. We see that you're a practitioner, that you're actually in the influencer space. I've been writing a lot about it on my, well, I've been on blogs or on podcasts and stuff. I wrote about it a lot on my blog." And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a friend like hacked UCLA and was like, "Hey, we want to hire you." And I was like, "Are you sure? Like, I don't have my master's or anything, and I talk fast." I was like, "I sure I'm gonna. You want me to teach the youth of America? I don't know if this is gonna be a good fit for you guys. Like, you guys will probably get bad reviews. You know, we gotta be careful."
at
And
least you know how to
so
handle those.
yeah, I could get them taken down, so they hired me for another quarter. Yeah, so what happened was Amanda, who was over at UCLA, she was creating the curriculum, and so I went down there and interviewed at UCLA, and they said, "Yeah, we'd like to bring you on." And so that's how I jumped into that. I used to live in Sacramento, so I would fly down to LA or to Burbank actually, go down there, get a rental car, get a hotel, and I would go teach for 3 hours, and then I would come back. I just did that for quite a while. It was great for points and everything like that, but I just, for credit card points, but I just kind of got tired of it. It was like, all right, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great journey. I definitely learned a lot from the students, and it was awesome just to be able to talk about influencer marketing. The course was influencer marketing, but it was really how to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, hey, you
Okay.
have an audience, right? You built this audience on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. And how do you monetize it, right? How do you turn this into a business? And so we did influencer marketing, but it was really how to run a business, right? Like how to pitch and how to do things, and once again how to grow that business, right? And so especially in LA, because in LA everybody goes there to be an actor, so it's like
Yeah.
now you're like, oh, I can be an actor or an influencer, like
Yeah.
I doubled my odds now, it's a good thing, I guess. So
Well, that's great. So, what's in the future for you?
yeah, so it's funny. We have Tracefuse, obviously, and things are going really, really well there. And now I have some other softwares that we're working on as well. A number of different softwares. Some of them are in the Amazon space, some of them are outside of the Amazon space. So, really excited about that. Some softwares that are kind of in stealth mode right now. So, we're working on them. I'm not fully talking about them yet, but probably in the next few months we will be. And then I have a new agency that I might be starting as well. So, we're in the talks about that as well. So, yeah, as always, I've always got a lot of, a lot of irons in the fire. And, what I've got to learn to do is not try to take on too much. And so I talk about delegation. I have an amazing team right now that has made it so that we can, start working on some other projects and stuff like that. So I'm very, very fortunate. I'm not just saying that because my team might be listening. Like I really have a great team. I would be telling you that if it wasn't recorded and put out publicly, but yeah, so that's kind of the goal there. I also want to do a lot more traveling with my wife and my dogs and all that. Yeah, we bought an RV, and so that's
Oh,
another thing that I want to do is kind of get on the road and come out to North Carolina and visit some friends, go have some fun.
yeah. Hey, I have a room you could stay in. Just come on,
Ah,
let me
even
know when you're
better.
heading this way.
That'd be awesome.
Well, any closing thoughts?
No, I just think this was awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time today. And once again, I know that, time is very, very valuable. And I feel very fortunate that we were able to meet. And then I was able to come on your podcast and be able to talk about my story. So once again, I don't take that lightly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Amazon is a huge platform. I mean, it's like its own little planet, basically. And
Yeah,
there's so many people out there, and there's just so much opportunity
there
possible
is.
for individuals. So it's
There
nice
really is.
just to share out there one of the points. I'm sure there's probably 100 other points of the Amazon journey, but at least knowing that reviews are very important in all the other platforms, it's nice to be able to share the Amazon review platform too.
Yeah, the reviews really is the lifeline of Amazon and really any business,
Yeah,
because if you get good reviews, you're going to get more sales and more people coming in. You get bad reviews, then it's an oh crap situation where you got to try to figure it out. So,
yeah,
once again, try to be proactive, take control of the reviews, figure it out. Don't be shy about monitoring it. And then when something bad happens, you'll be ready for it.
yeah. The people who are happy forget to leave the reviews, but the people who are not happy, they're
That's
there instantly.
that's the
You
hard
don't
part. You could
have to
have
remind them.
No, you don't. That's the hard part is if you have 100 people come in, 99 are happy, and you have one person that complains, it looks like everybody hates your place or doesn't like your product, which hurts.
Yeah,
But once again, if you had good reviews, as I keep saying, it's important to kind of take that on and get a little foundation of good stuff. So when the bad stuff happens, it's not quite bad. It's like put money in the bank, right? If you
yeah,
need to go get brakes on your car, if you got cash in the bank, it's a lot easier than trying to, talk to mom or dad or anything like that to get some
Mom.
cash,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Shane, thank you very much. This was wonderful. I'll have information about you below so people can check out what you do and get in touch with you and learn more and also visit all of your little websites.
That sounds like a plan. Thank you so much
Great.
for having me.
All right. All right, Jane Builders, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.